Oh, hey friends, coming at you live from the eye of the polar vortex here in Chicago on this chilly Wednesday evening. I'm really excited to chat tonight. I have been doing these little soul chat videos over the last week or so, and tonight is really special edition. We're calling it Girl Talk Unfiltered because I am going to be bringing on my friend Lindsay, who is a mindset and energetic feminine energy coach for women who want to up level. And here she is. I'm going to bring her on. Let's see if we can do this. And we're going to jam. We're going to jam on all the things, all the feminine energy things. And there she is. Hey, Lindsay. Okay, I'm getting some feedback on my audio. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I'm gonna try anyway because yeah, I should have worn my headphones on. Let's see. I think you might have to plug your headphones in, Lindsay. Figuring out technology. For you guys who are watching live, how's the sound? Let me know in the comments.
All right, does that work a little bit better for you?
That sounds so much better. I was getting a lot of echoey feedback.
Yeah.
Yay!
Ooh.
Okay, I've totally jerry-rigged my phone now because the
I gotta go back under the blankets because polar vortex life.
Get cozy. Polar vortex
Right?
life. Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, Lindsay. Thank you so much for hopping on. I'm so excited to do a live with you. Can you tell us, let's start by sharing a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, definitely. So I am a spiritual wellness and mindset coach. So I work with women to develop their intuition, to connect deeply with their divine feminine and really balance their divine feminine, divine masculine, and to up-level their lives. So I work a lot with women in transition or women who desire a transition. So want to be in a new relationship, want to start a new business or just started a new business, maybe want to take their business full time, side hustle to full hustle. Women who want to kind of change their relationships in different ways, change the way their friendships or their family relationships are going, want to, bring a life into this world, just became a mother. So anyone who's desiring a transition and up level, or anyone who's just experienced a transition and wants to make the most out of it, feel really embodied, feel really aligned, and develop their personal practice. So cultivating that connection with your intuition, with your femininity, and just with your ability to consciously create, which I truly, deeply, fully believe in.
Love, love, love. Yeah. So if you're watching and you know me, you know that Lindsay and I are soulmate friends, soul sisters, because we're obsessed with the same things. And that's why I love hanging out with her, because we have different backgrounds and different perspectives, and we have different approaches to the work we do. But at the same, it's this core foundation of helping women come home to themselves and connect with their feminine energy and learn how to detach from the hustle, detach from the anxiety, the stress, and tune into our bodies, especially our cyclical feminine energy, our menstrual cycles, our fertility, And so it's super exciting because, as all of you guys who are watching know, I recently announced that I am pregnant again.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to have a baby in August. And this whole journey over the last, since October of 2017 is when Ben and I decided we were ready to just like start exploring the possibility of starting our family. And there's been a lot of ups and downs through there with, miscarriage last spring and then the trying to conceive again. And I have treated this like a personal growth experience in terms of just like releasing my fears and getting prepared and just creating space in my life, connecting with my own feminine energy, my own cycle, my own fertility awareness,
Yes.
and also just like letting this be a spiritual journey of connecting to myself and a future baby. And so it's really cool because I know you are right now in the process of conscious conception, as we call it, and calling in your baby too. And so I would love to hear how just like tapping into your own feminine energy and your cycles has impacted your life and how you're approaching this new season.
Yeah, definitely. Connecting with my femininity is something that has been a lifelong journey. I was really separated and kind of disconnected from it for a really long time. And as I started to develop a desire for it and found the power in there, I had always discounted femininity. Like, I always thought it kind of sucked to be a woman. We have to deal with all these things. Like, we get our period and we have to go through that. And, in the professional world, I always felt like we're just like not looked at as the same. And like everything that I saw as a negative is really the positive. Like, oh yes, we're emotional, we're more feeling, we're more empathetic, we're more cyclical. Like all of these things that I like shunned so aggressively in my younger years are really like where the magic's at. So as I started to develop my own spirituality, heal my own trauma, go through my own spiritual process, I started to see that a lot of my aches and pains energetically and spiritually were from the fact that I was so disassociated from my femininity. So starting to connect with my physical body, working with, my own cycle, doing things like I do a lot of work with vaginal steaming and peristeaming, fertility awareness, basal body temperature, connecting with, the cycles, honoring those just like I honor the moon, and relaxing and retreating when I am bleeding, and utilizing that amazing phase of ovulation and kind of putting myself out there more, scheduling things that I want to use that radiance and use that juiciness, and just honoring that entire feminine facet of self has really changed my entire life. So it's informed my practice and has informed my business, but has really changed my actual life. And so I'm so
Yeah.
grateful and so thankful for it.
What are some of your favorite self-care things to do when you're on your period?
I am obsessed with baths, which I know you know. I have like the most amazing bath ever, and I'm so grateful for my partner for manifesting that one. He says that's his first like true manifestation, and I love water practice. So I do a lot of different practices with my bath. So I will do specific crystal empowerment with it. So I'll set the intention of a crystal, or I'll cleanse in the bath. I'll set the intention of a bath with crystals and kind of blend different energies in there. I do sacred oil pulls. So I will like close my eyes, ask for that which I need, and then pull out a sacred oil and put that into my bath. And then that will be an intention if I'm doing that around the new moon or if I'm doing that around the full moon. My cycle is actually synced up with the moon. So I either ovulate or bleed on the new or the full moon. And that's actually transitioned around the time that I started to open myself up for conscious conception, which was really interesting. So I loved watching that and kind of processing that and seeing how that changed as I became more open and more focused on nature and on my own cycle. So that was a practice I really loved. I do a lot of like salt or apple cider vinegar or baking soda, all different types of ritualistic bath practices. I do a lot with Palo Santo and the water as it drains out to release all that does not serve you. I do a lot of journaling or meditation both before, during, and after sacred baths. I do a lot of altar work, so I call in specific specific things, set intention for specific things, watch those things come to fruition, and kind of change my altar with the moon cycle and with my own feminine cycle, and just how I'm planning my life. I really plan it around my cycle. I have no problem saying no to things as, I find that, oh, you know what, I'm actually going to be on my period at that time. That for me is like too many people or too much going, or like I'm already going to be working all day and then have calls. Like I can't do a late night or a bar night that night. I just can't honor that. And then in opposition, during ovulation, I feel like I can really stack my schedule. I can be comfortable for things like this where I'm really like putting my face forward and allow myself to like into that power and that ripeness and that juiciness. I do a lot of
Yeah.
dancing, a lot of singing, a lot of like more like up leveled events, whereas like on my cycle I want to like retreat, I want to be very warm, I want to be very nurtured. I ask my partner for a lot more like physical contact. I want to like be cuddled and coddled, and I want like my hair, I want everything to be sweet and soft and gentle and very intentional around that time. So I really adjust everything to my physical vessel and the process that it grows through every month.
Yeah, I think it's so important to give ourselves that space to just like chill out and rest in our culture that's
Yes.
constantly telling us to go, 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 and we don't have space for ourselves. I just love using our cycle as
Yes.
like this built-in reminder to give ourselves a little mini retreat every month or whenever. And I love comparing the phases of our cycle to the seasons. And so I consider,
Yes.
when you're bleeding, I think of that as being in your inner winter, which is extra powerful when it's actually winter. And so
During
that's
this
like
frozen
perfect
tundra.
right now, where we literally can't go out. Like we literally can't make plans. We have to.
Yes.
We're
It is
forced
not
to just
safe
like
to
chill.
go out right now, so don't.
And this is like a good practice too. And so like for any of you guys watching that are like super overachievers and you want to learn how to relax, just use winter instead of resisting winter and complaining about the weather. Maybe just like, how can I embrace this? It's hilarious. Did you lose your internet today, Lindsay?
For a little bit, yes.
Okay, yeah, because
and I went to backup internet and I was like, oh.
Yeah, she was like, oh my gosh, my internet's down, because we were supposed to have a call this morning, and she was like, I guess I manifested this opportunity to force myself to journal and meditate and unplug, and so that's kind of funny too. Yeah. Do you ever notice, so how is your energy like when you're shifting between, this like winter and summer? So like between being on your period and ovulating, like through that inner spring of energy rising, and then also like through your autumn of the luteal phase of like energy going back inward. What are those phases or times like for you?
So my intuition actually shifts a lot depending on the phase. So like as I come from like bleeding to finishing bleeding, like a lot of my intuition is very like inner focused and is very reflective on like the filling of my own cup. And then as I transition out of that, my intuition goes more to like a baseline intuition. So I find that I have a lot more access to reading other individuals, very present for me in those transition phases, whereas like when I'm in my like actual moon cycle, I can see my own shit way better than anything else. And then when I'm ovulating, I can see my own stuff in an entirely different, like such a potent, palpable way. And when I'm ovulating, I can also read others, but I am very intense about the energy. Like I'm very much like, ooh, not good for me. Like, no, no, no. Because I'm so alive and like I'm so aware and I'm so in tune and I'm so vibrant that like anything that kind of dulls that shine or brings that vibration down, I have no space or time for. Whereas around my cycle, like I'm so empathetic and I'm so compassionate, I'm so open, and I'm so like, oh, I have so much of that energy that like if I need to do work with others, I can, but it's got to be like very much one-on-one. It's got to be like very honored in this sacred vessel. Whereas like in my ovulation phase, like I could do energy work on an entire room and I'd be totally fine. Whereas I could not do that during my cycle itself. And like honoring that and booking things around that has like changed my personal practice.
As a game changer.
Yes, it's huge.
Have you ever heard of the book Wild Power?
But it sounds like something I would like.
Dude, you need this. It's I always have it like right by. No, it's called Wild Power. It's by these women who founded this this school called the Red School. They live in the UK, so I'm really
Okay.
sad. There's like no, I feel like all of the menstrual cycle awareness stuff is like happening over
Yeah,
in the UK or like in
for
Australia. But
sure. Red tent
so this is
life out
really
there.
cool. Yeah, because so they talk a lot about the energies of our cycle, like what you're talking about, that intuition and just like being inner versus like outer focus. They call it the via positiva, which is like your energy rising
Okay.
as you head towards ovulation, and then the via negativa is this energetic pathway of like going more inward.
Okay.
And they draw, I don't have my whiteboard here, but I like drawing the circle,
Yeah.
because then you can see it's like the North Pole and the South Pole.
Mm-hmm.
So like on the South Pole is like when you're menstruating and you're just like focused on receiving and being with yourself. And then at the top is when you're ovulating, and it's more of this
Mm-hmm.
like social, outward, like nurturing
Yes.
energy. And what's cool is like the transitional phases in between. This is when our energy is moving. So like, because the North and South Pole, like these points are more static. And
Yes.
so even though the energy is completely different when we're on our period versus ovulating, it's this time of just presence, of just like being.
Yes.
And so like for me, I really feel this turbulence. And I know a lot of women I work with struggle during when the times like right after their period, and then the times like right before their
Yes.
period, just because we go through, it's like it's basically the hormone roller coaster, but
Yeah, you're
it
not like
creates
in a
like,
place, you're moving to a
yeah,
place.
it's this movement, just like the
Mm-hmm.
seasons, like here in Chicago, spring and winter are just really stormy and
Yeah.
windy, and just like learning how to navigate those phases without being too hard on yourself, or like honoring yourself, especially when you're coming out of your period. Like I feel like I always get this burst of energy on like day 6 or 7 of my cycle, where it's like, okay, I've like
Yeah.
rested long enough, and just like now I want to do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
But if I like jump back into it, and if I really like
Yeah.
let that drive take hold of me, I end up burning out, or I end up having a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety because I'm putting myself out there like too much too soon. And so it's like I
Yeah.
try and work behind the
We don't have
scenes
the
on stuff.
stamina back.
Yeah. And so like
Yeah.
just listening to our bodies is so cool. And then also, yeah, on the flip side, yeah, what do you do for self-care during like the week before your period, when you're going through that like PMS week?
Um, Lots of nourishing foods. So I really enjoy practicing seed cycling. So working with like chia seed and sunflower seeds in the different times to like help balance my body. I do a lot of like good fats and a lot of like warming, nourishing things. I find really is supportive to me. I drink a lot more tea, a lot more like bone broth and those types of things that really like set me up to be very nourished as I'm depleting and kind of cleansing out. I do a lot of work with like releasing because my body is actually going to start releasing. I do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
preparation work. Like, is there anything that I want to let go of? Is there anything that's no longer serving me? It's a great time to cord cut. It's a great time to do like chakra meditation and kind of see where everything's at, see if there's any blockages or stagnation that I can move through. I do ritual baths all the time. I just completely update them depending on what time it is. I will also do a lot of journaling. I do deep meditative work all the time, but again, just like a bath, I like adapt it based on where I
Mm-hmm.
am in that cycle. I will
Yeah.
also like make my partners aware of the fact that I'm going into this phase because I tend
Oh,
to
that's
have less
huge.
patience. I tend to be less like I'm very empathetic and very compassionate and very like almost raw and emotional, but I sometimes don't extend that to them, whereas they're both very used to me just like giving so much and being so available, so that when I get a little bit shorter, when I get a little bit like I have less patience for my partner Katie is learning the intuition and the spirituality and all of this beauty and
Mm-hmm.
magic. And sometimes I find myself going like, come on, see it. Like, I know you could see it. And she's like, it takes me a little bit longer to like, absorb. She calls it Tetris, where she's like, okay, I see the Tetris piece, but
Yeah,
it
it's
takes a
like
little bit
locking
of
into
time to work
place.
its way in there. And I am very aware of the fact that like as I am transitioning into my own moon cycle, my patience is very short, and I'm just like, why are you like, here's the picture, and I'll like give the intuitive download that I've gotten, and
Yeah.
I have less patience for the fact that like everyone processes in a different way. So being aware of
Yeah.
that and constantly catching myself and going like, okay, explain a little more, leave more
Yeah.
room for time, leave more room for this, like allow. And so I'll like journal on that, or I'll circle back and be like, hey, that was a little short, like Let's talk about
Yeah,
it some more.
communication is key. And I
Yeah.
think communication, like to communicate your needs, is really great too. Because I feel like a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
as women, we feel selfish or we feel really awkward and weird about like telling our partner or our
Yeah.
family or our friends like what we want or what we need because we don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
demanding or we don't want to be needy or
Yeah.
high maintenance. Um, but yeah, that can be so cool too. So oh my gosh, we have so many people
Yeah.
watching live. Hey guys, Nicole, Catherine, Caitlin, Amanda. So if you guys have any questions or any like what the fuck are you talking about, drop a comment and let us know. Let us know what you struggle with when it comes to, um, yeah, just like being a woman or having a cycle or having mood swings
Being
or
a
going through all
woman
these.
and being
Being a
cyclical.
woman.
Yeah. There's so much
um,
to the cyclical fact, and like we're in a world that like doesn't really honor that, doesn't really tell us
yeah.
about that. Like I talk to so many of my clients about, okay, like when you first got your period, when you first like entered womanhood in this way, like what were you told? What were you taught? You know, how did your friends react? Like, was this a big thing in your school? Like, did everybody talk about it? Did no one talk about it? How did your parents present it? Have a relationship with your period that was like, oh, this is gross, or oh, this is disgusting, or oh, I have to hide it. The whole like image of the tampon up the sleeve and like, what if it
Oh my
falls
gosh.
out? Like, what
Yeah.
if someone knows that I have
You
my
know, like
period?
I still do
Oh,
that. It's like, well, I've started using a menstrual cup recently,
yeah,
but and now I don't have any periods anymore, which is like kind of sad because I,
kind of
now
great.
that I know it's yeah, it's kind of sad, kind of great, but like I still
Mm-hmm.
catch myself like hiding the freaking tampon or
Yeah.
pad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is that? Like
100%.
50% of the population goes through this. Why is it such a
Yeah.
taboo thing? Which is
And,
why we're
you know,
talking about it on Facebook.
yeah. And when we're younger, you know, so often we hear like, oh, women are so emotional. And so, like, that's why it's hard to be
Mm-hmm.
at work, or like, oh, she's like a crazy bitch, or like, oh, PMS this, PMS that. And it's like, we're brought up in that. So we're taught that. So we
Yeah.
like try and autocorrect the opposite way of like, oh, if I want to be successful in business, like, I can never act like I have my period. I can never say, like, oh, wow, I'm in pain, or like, oh, wow, I really want to sit, or like, I don't want to do that. Or like, that's going to take me a little bit longer, or I need to take a
Mm-hmm.
different kind of break. I need to eat different foods. Like, especially during my cycle, I need to eat more often. Like, I need to stay
Mm-hmm.
constantly
Yeah.
nourished instead of like when I'm ovulating, like, if I'm in the flow, I can like work for like 6 or 8 hours and then be like, oh my God, I need to eat
Yeah.
something. Whereas like during my cycle, I'm like, no, no, no. Like if I don't have avocado and chia seeds and like my water and then like tomatoes I can eat and then
Yeah, you're
fruit
gonna
over
die.
here and then tea here, like my desk looks like a Whole Foods, like walk through. And I'm like, yeah, this is
Uh,
all of the things that I need. But like that's how I'm
yeah. It's
able to
self-care.
do what it is that I need to do and
Yeah.
work as if I don't have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
cycle, because I'm honoring the things that I need to like adapt myself and my body to this structure that's not meant for me. Like the way that
Yeah.
we work is
That's the
not meant for a
challenge.
feminine body.
Yeah, because I know you have a full-time
Yes,
job and like a
100%.
lot of women watching have a full-time job or have a business or have kids or have
Yep.
people who depend on them. And it's like, it is
Yep.
hard because we can't just live inside of this little red tent bubble and be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
self-care all the time. And so it's just
Yeah.
like,
Like for my
I
period,
always
I'm
say
just gonna
like,
be by myself alone
yeah,
here
bye
and like
guys,
just at
peace
home
out
doing these
world.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like how can we carve out those little moments of like little self-care of okay, so it's
Mm-hmm.
like you know that you're going to need to bring extra snacks to work or
Yep.
it's like maybe you'll go to bed a little earlier or like for me
Mm-hmm.
I love working out and I love pushing my body, but I just like have stopped working out. I don't even do yoga during the first couple days of my period because I feel like my uterus just needs a chance to chill. And
Yep.
I've been super active this pregnancy so far because my body's like craving the movement and it feels really good to get
Mm-hmm.
my heart rate up and to challenge my body. But at the same time,
Oh,
it's
I
like,
can feel that, girl. I'm like starting to sway. I'm like, yes, move it.
uh, but like, I don't even know because this is my first time going through all of this. And I'm just like gaining this much deeper appreciation of my body. So instead of feeling like I have to look a certain way, it's more of like I'm meeting myself where I'm at, and I'm already feeling like postpartum. Like a lot of women I know are like aching to jump back into their workouts and just like lose the baby weight, and I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
I want to use this full like the whole fourth trimester to heal or fifth
Yes.
trimester, you know, and just like it's all about recovery,
Yes. Oh
and
my God,
giving
yes.
yourself what you need. And so I feel like this is so important for women to hear and to know, is like, hear other women talk about, like, you don't have to
Yes.
constantly be pushing yourself. You don't have to constantly be
Oh,
hustling, and you don't constantly have to be trying to be smaller or better or thinner, or like doing all, like, it's
mm-hmm.
okay to rest and take care of yourself, and
Oh, yes.
take some
So many
downtime, even if you
opinions
have to
on
show up to
this.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yep.
all good.
One of my favorite book recommendations is The Fourth Trimester by Kimberly Ann Johnson. It is
I'll have
absolutely
to check it
magic.
out.
Also, I plan to honor the practice of Quarento after birth, which is, 40 days where like the mom pretty much doesn't leave the house. You try and spend a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time like skin to skin, naked, free bleeding, like honoring the fact that like you want to be wrapped up. You want to be like
Yeah.
not really opening the legs very much. You want to like honor the fact that your body is like re-knitting back together.
Yeah.
Working with steaming or vaginal steaming. Steamy Chick is like the most amazing resource for that information. And like vaginal steaming is seen like across the world in so many locations, and it is so beautiful and like such a
Mm-hmm.
magical practice for postpartum. And honoring that hormonal transition that you're in is so huge. And I think postpartum depression is be kind of come synonymous with just the word postpartum. Like so often women
Yeah.
say postpartum and they're referring to depression, when it's like postpartum does not have to be a depressive state all the time. Like those two things are different.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
really speaking to that and bringing that out into the forefront so the public can become accustomed to that and understand that and like honor
Yeah.
that and like adapt that for what works for them too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I
So
agree.
what are you excuse me. Oh, Laurel says, for real, just telling myself going to bed at 9:30 is fine. Is everything. Some days, yeah. Sometimes you just gotta go to
Yes.
bed. And set the boundaries and like say no to people. So
Actually,
what
about
are
that, my health coach was telling me the other day that like the best sleep you get is between 9 and 11 p.m.
oh
And
my
I was
gosh, are you
like,
serious?
oh shit. I was like, I am like not
Yeah.
even asleep by 11 p.m. most nights. So
Mm-hmm.
when she told me that, I was like, oh my God, that's so huge. Like, she's like, even one night a week, if you're
Yeah.
going to bed earlier so that you can get some of that deep, impactful sleep between 9 and
Oh my
11 is
gosh.
massive. And I was like, okay, note to self, change entire life
Note to
process
self.
because I'm
Yeah.
rarely even in bed by 11.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's just like
whew,
shifting it forward
that's
a little
definitely going
bit.
to be
Which,
something
again,
I call
yeah,
forth for
winter
pregnancy for sure.
and winter is like a great season to start that habit because
Yeah.
it's dark by 5 p.m.
It's
It's going
dark
to be
so
harder
early,
in the
it's cold, you
summer.
just want to like get in bed and
You just
warm
want to be in
up.
bed anyway. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
hilarious.
Yes.
So, what are some of the things you're doing to conceive consciously?
Oh, conscious
Because I know you're all
conception.
about
Oh, I love
this
this
life.
topic. So for conscious conception, I started all the way back last January because I planned on starting to try with my primary partner this January. So back in January of 2018, I started to change my diet. I started to work in a lot of meditations about like connecting with my spirit babies, starting to like prepare my physical vessel, my energetic vessel. I know we have previously talked about, making space. So really thinking about what that means to make space in your life, in your physical body, in my energetic field. So I started to really work with my aura and with my etheric tethers to these spirit babies and, do a lot of practice in that, a lot of journaling, a lot of gratitude. I honored every single
Mm-hmm.
one of my cycles. So I did a lot of work like
Mm-hmm.
thanking my fertility, thanking unity, working with my second chakra, seed cycling, feeding my body what it was asking for. I really started to change the food I was eating. And then in October, I started to get like even more intense. So I started to work with a
Mm-hmm.
farm and do a meat CSA so that like all of the animal products that my partner and I were eating were very intentional. Were all like free range, grass fed, antibiotic free, like all these magical things, and started to go like absolutely preservative free. And I try to eat like nothing from
Mm-hmm.
packages, and I started to adapt like what I was eating out because that's going to be kind of the major change for me. Like I love food, and basically the list
Mm-hmm.
of what you can't eat when you're pregnant is like the list of all my favorite foods, like raw fish, raw
Yeah.
shellfish, tartars, like sushi, cheeses, like charcuterie boards, like alcohol, like all of my favorite things are
Yeah.
on the list of like, do not eat this while you're pregnant. So starting
Yeah.
to transition around that was huge. And then once we got closer to like actual conscious conception, doing a lot of partnered work where I did a lot of visualization with him where we both became these like lighthouses and just like beamed our
Hmm.
light out into the ether, calling those souls in, telling them that we're available, like opening myself up energetically to them so that they could see and feel and believe and know that I was ready and that we wanted this. Because so much time avoiding pregnancy, not wanting pregnancy,
I know. It's like so
protecting
hard. You
from it. We're
can't
like,
just
oh,
go. Yeah, you can't
yeah.
just go like that 180.
So starting
It
to
takes
shift around
intention.
that. My partner and I also started to do, we did rapé together, which is a practice that really opens the third eye. And so he is definitely not on the spiritual path that I am on. So finding things that really spoke to him that, he would like
Mm-hmm.
watch and get curious about with me. So like I was doing like 108 things and he'd be like, okay, these four things speak to me. I want to
I
know
can
a
do
little bit
this.
more about them. And we would like find
Yeah.
ways that he could participate in this. So for instance, I
Yeah.
might be putting a crystal grid together on an altar near the bed before, practicing conscious conception. And he would be like, I'll light the candles. Because like
Yeah.
something that he could get behind, or like he started
Yeah.
working with Palo Santo more often. We started doing a lot of affirmation work, and then I took that even further and was like writing letters to our children, calling their souls in, turning
Hmm.
that into meditations. Once we started trying, the only meditations that I was working with for my regular morning and evening meditations are all like birth, conscious conception, spirit babies, like all focused
Hmm.
on that. And then in the
Yeah.
middle of the day, I could do other things. But like for those two structured ones, it was only birth related for a long
Yeah.
time. So
Just like focusing and
yeah,
dialing it in. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that I did because we took like this like slow, gradual approach
Mm-hmm.
into trying to conceive by starting with the decision. Well, because I quit my birth control pill.
Okay.
I think in 2016 because
Okay.
I knew that it would probably take my hormones a while
Yeah.
to kick back in gear, which it did. And for
How
those
was
listening,
that
because I know it.
process for you? Did you
So yeah, I
feel
talked
like
with so many women.
whiplash?
No, I didn't. I felt amazing. And so,
Okay.
because I know I talk with so many women who are like, oh my gosh, I'm scared to go off the pill.
Yeah.
Um, so I knew, like, it didn't align with like
Yeah.
how I wanted to treat my body. Because after I was getting into so many like holistic, just like natural wellness stuff. But the reason why I went on the pill when I was like 19 is because I had PMDD, which is
Okay.
premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which basically means I guess it's probably hormone imbalance, but it means you have really crazy mood swings before your period, like bipolar.
Yeah.
And so I was on the pill for like 9 years and it was great. And so it's like, I'm not against the pill or hormonal contraception because if it works
Okay.
for you, use it as long as it works.
Yeah.
But then
It's very
there's a
much
time
based
where
on
it's
you,
like,
particularly.
yeah, and it's like it took me almost a year to get a regular cycle back. I went
Oh,
through, and this
wow.
is just like complete real talk, and I wrote a blog. I don't think I actually wrote a blog post about this, but I've talked about this before. Yeah, because I quit the pill in like February, and then it took me like 2 months to get a period, and then I would have a period like every 60 days. Like it was like
Okay.
regular, like
Ooh.
clockwork,
Yeah.
but it was just like I would skip a whole cycle. And during that
Mm-hmm.
time, I also had this yeast infection from hell that like
Oh.
would not die, that my doctor was just like, we tried all the medicine, I tried all the natural remedies, like I completely cut,
Oh.
I did like the candida diet, I cut like sugar and everything. It's just like wouldn't die. I know for
Oh
a fact it
no.
was hormonal because as soon as I started getting more and more
Yeah.
regular cycles, all of a sudden it just like went away. And this is stuff like no one
Yeah.
talks about, but it's just
For
part of
sure.
being a human. Our bodies are weird. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
so by the
And
time
affected by
we,
so many things. Like
it's so
we're
sensitive.
just
Yeah, like
affected by
especially
so many things.
stress and travel and
Yep.
like
Those cortisol levels,
anything.
man.
Yeah. And so by
Oh
the
yeah.
time we decided to like stop not trying to get pregnant, I'd been off the pill
Mm-hmm.
for like a year and a half and I was tracking my cycles. I was practicing menstrual cycle awareness, which for me, that goes beyond just fertility awareness
Mm-hmm.
because it's more like I'm all about like, yeah, like I'll track like my basal temperature just to know like when I'm ovulating is huge.
Yeah.
Because that's something that no one teaches us either is like we're only fertile for
No
like
one
this little tiny
teaches us
window.
this. Yes. And it's like
like
they
around
teach you
our
like, oh my God,
ovulation.
you can get pregnant at any moment. And it's like, no, you
Yeah,
can't.
just like look at a guy and you're gonna get
Right. And
pregnant.
it's
Like,
like,
no,
then
it's
when you
actually
start
hard.
trying, like so many women have, talked to me and told me that they're
Yeah.
like, okay, so I've been thinking my entire life that I can just get pregnant at a drop of a hat. And now that I want to,
Hmm.
it's so difficult. Like so many
Yeah.
women to go see fertility specialists have been trying for a year or a year and a half, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, but if you're not having sex on those like 3 or 5 or like maybe max like 6 or 7 days
Hmm.
that you can get pregnant, depending on all the factors, like, yeah, you're
Yeah,
not going
there's
to
so
get
many
pregnant.
factors.
So like,
Yeah. And
and they're,
even when
they're
you,
going for in vitro, they're going to this, they're seeing
yeah,
specialists, and it's
and
like,
it's so
well, they'd be like,
stressful.
wait, if you're having sex and when you're ovulating, different story. But if we're not sure of
Hmm.
that, like, let's not get you
Yeah.
souped up on hormones and pricked by different things until we know
Yeah.
that. And like, if that
Yeah.
was
Make
something
sure
that
that
we
you
were
are
taught, and in addition to
right
like
in high
covalent
school.
bonds and trig, that would be
Yeah.
different.
It'd be so much more applicable to life
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Why do we
And
not get
it's
taught
like,
taxes? Why do we get not get taught about our cycles? Like
yeah.
these are two things we actually need.
Yeah. Life skills
100%.
101. So
Yep.
good thing you guys are watching this Facebook live to get your life skills training for the day.
Mm.
Yeah. But then I also read there's like, even when you do have sex, the perfect time, there's only a
Yes.
30%, I think 30% chance of conception. And so it's like, it is about timing, but it's also about like just letting miracle happen and trust process because
Yep.
it took us. So we went through the phases of like, okay, like stop using birth control, and then I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
track my basal body temperature for a couple months. I was just kind of like
Okay.
going off how I felt, and then I started doing
Mm-hmm.
that, and so I knew exactly when I was ovulating, or
Yes.
like right after I was ovulating, and so. Um, so easy to get caught up in the whole like timed sex thing and just like
Yeah.
we gotta have
How
sex
structured
tonight, and
it
then it's like, oh, but
becomes.
I'm
Yeah.
tired. It just like
Yeah.
takes all the fun out of it, but unless you
Mm-hmm.
like are intentional with it. So it took us, so let's see, we started in October, so it's like October, November, December, January, February. So it took us like 5 or 6 months to get pregnant for the first time. I think like 4 months of me tracking my ovulation.
Yeah.
And then and then I was pregnant for about 9 weeks and then miscarried. And then I waited like 4 months before we started trying again. And then it took me 4 months again to get pregnant, even though after, so the cool thing is after I had my miscarriage, and so many women miscarry their first pregnancy, which is something we don't talk about either, but it's so common and it's
Yeah.
devastating. But it's also just like your body doing its job. It's not your body
Mm-hmm.
failing. It's your body
Yes.
doing its job, because my cycles, they were a little irregular, like 29 to 35 days, but like after the miscarriage, I got my cycle back like within 3 weeks, and then it was literally clockwork. I would get my period.
Oh,
I
wow.
love that you're like sync to the moon. I was synced to the month. Like I got my
Yes.
period the first day of every month. It was like
Really? That's
hilarious.
crazy.
Yeah, for like 4 or 5
That's
months,
amazing.
like regardless of the length of the month. It was, but I would always
Yeah.
ovulate on
Oh,
day
that's nuts.
19 of my cycle. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Oh, the magic
always
19.
regular.
19's my favorite number.
That's funny. Yeah, but then it took us
Mm.
it took us 4 months to get pregnant again. And like it's easy to let that get to your head when you just like want to have a
For
baby,
sure.
but I was using it as like every time I got my period, I would just use it to just like release even more and like do all the journaling,
Yes.
all of the intention setting, all of the healing, like
Mm-hmm.
inner work, to just like
Yes.
feel at peace and at home and aligned with my. I've always been such a control freak. It's been a huge, amazing lesson in letting go of my own timeline of my life and just
Yes.
trusting God's timeline and trusting the divine plan and just like coming along for the ride. And
And which is something you're gonna
it's
need when you
surreal.
have kids, like especially those of us who are a little bit more control freaky and want to like plan and
Yeah.
structure and do all of this. Like all that changes when you have kids. So preparing for
Yeah.
that, I'm sure that
Yeah.
added a
It's
lot
just
of
like
that.
letting
Another
go.
strong
Letting go.
misconception that I love addressing for women is so often in school and in like family life or in sex ed, we're taught that like the sperm race to get to the egg, whoever gets first. And it's like,
Hmm.
capture the flag basically. And it's like, no, the egg has to like choose, like the egg opens up and like allows the sperm to come in. Like
Hmm.
that egg is selective. It's like, okay, when do
Yeah.
I choose that? When do I allow? And then the difference between just, it being fertilized versus implanting and like all these different things that like
Hmm. It's this
you're,
whole process,
yep,
multi-step.
and
It's a
maybe
miracle. It's
taught,
like
but you're
miraculous.
taught when you're so young. And it's like, that's not when you need it. That's
Hmm.
not when you're
Yeah,
absorbing it or understanding it. And like, there's
exactly.
nothing
Yeah.
that's like so formal. We don't do that again in college. We don't do that again, like with your doctor. Like,
Hmm.
it's so interesting to me, like, how we just expect women to know these things. And then, we do so much
Yeah.
like cultural stigma around women who can't get pregnant, around women who don't have kids by a certain time or don't do this or do that. And so just having communities and allowing women to like speak up and talk and offering that to each other is huge.
Hmm. Yeah. And like Brittany says, we also have to, it's on us to teach our male counterparts when we do figure out what's going on with their
Yes.
body. Yeah. Because they have no idea. And yeah, we have to teach each
Mm-hmm.
other and figure it out. That's
Oh
hilarious.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was
So
definitely
I've loved
a
chatting with
big
you.
part of like
Yeah.
cycling in, was like getting the
Oh
partner
my gosh.
in
Getting
and
him on board.
teaching and
Yeah.
educating, and but like in a way that like felt good for him, and was like, okay, which of these many
Hmm.
practices do you feel aligned with which of these things do you
Yeah.
feel speaks to you, and then what are some of the non-negotiable
Yeah.
ones, like especially the eating and stuff, and like certain preparations that I
Hmm.
was like, I really want you to participate in these. And then like it was on me to like educate and teach and like offer like, okay, why, and here's the
Yeah.
support and this and that. So
Yeah.
really
Was
powerful.
he open to learning?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think you
Hmm.
kind of have to be a certain kind of man to choose me as your partner.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, he's used to me being like, the girls are coming over for Moon Circle. And he's like, what are all
Yeah.
these jars of crystals and water? And like, what's this random shit you light on fire? And like, why do we keep getting boxes from like Crystal's ink and stuff? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's mine. Or like, I showed him a picture of something that I'm going to want to build when
Yeah.
we do have a nursery. And it's like an animal head with like glycerin preserved flowers. And he's like, that's kind of creepy. And I'm like, yeah, but we're going to do it. And he's like, I assumed that if you wanted it,
Yeah.
we're going to
That's
do
so
it. And
funny.
like, he's definitely
Yeah.
had to be very open. And it's been very cool
Yeah.
to kind of see what he takes to and what he enjoys and what really
Yeah.
speaks to him. And then finding those
Yeah.
things that like, he's like, oh yeah, I listened to this podcast. And I'm like, you did? Oh. And he'll tell me like, oh, this
Aw.
certain time, or like when they said this, or like this really resonated with me. And I'm like, oh, I love you so much. That makes me so happy.
Aw. Yeah, the funny thing is that I met my husband when I was 19.
Oh,
So
wow.
we've been together for so long that we've just kind of like evolved together. And he's
Mm-hmm.
just been kind of pulled along on the ride
Yeah.
of my whole, like personal growth and spiritual journey. And it was so
Mm-hmm.
funny because I checked out some books in the library, including this like Kundalini approach to
Oh,
pregnancy book. And
yeah.
I made him like pick up my holds. And he's like, yeah, I saw the
Oh,
cover. There's a pregnant lady in a turban. I'm just gonna like leave these here.
yeah. Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
interested to see which one, because I just bought a Kundalini pregnancy book. So we'll have to
Okay.
compare notes
It's
on which ones
called
we
it's
have.
called like Blissful, Bountiful, Beautiful or something like that.
Oh, I'll have to check. I can't remember offhand
I
because
don't
I
know.
went to
I don't know the
purchase
author.
one other one that was like pregnancy eating, and then it came up as a
Hmm.
suggested one, and I was like, oh
Oh,
yeah, that
okay.
looks great. And it was like Kundalini and this and pregnancy, and I was like, yep, 100%.
Yeah.
Like that sounds so perfect. I'm obsessed with
Yeah.
Kundalini awakening. Like Kundalini
Yeah.
energy is so powerful.
I'm just getting into it. I'm
Oh,
also
I
getting
love it.
into Ayurveda. I also Deepak
Yeah,
Chopra has a book on pregnancy that I got too that's pretty interesting. It's not
yeah,
super in depth, but yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. I'm just like
yeah.
learning. I'm just like open
Yeah, we'll have
to
to
like learning all the
compare
things.
books notes because I have
Yeah, for sure.
so many of them, and like some pretty, a few of them are kind of out there. Like I would say like Placenta
Yeah.
the Lost Chakra sounds like some
Like
random sci-fi thing
that
on
sounds
Netflix, but
hilarious,
like
but it sounds
so
fascinating too.
fascinating, so interesting. So, and like all the
Yeah.
unassisted childbirth and spiritual
Yeah.
midwifery and like all of that stuff has been like just absolutely eye-opening.
It's like
So,
mind blowing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have
Well,
to
the
share
cool
with you.
thing is like that I didn't know is like the placenta is an entire organ that
Yeah.
our body
Yeah.
creates, like from
That's insane.
nothing,
Insane.
like temporarily, just
Yep.
like nourish this baby. I don't know. It's
Yep.
like so mind blowing. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Like I don't even know what's
And just
happening.
like the
So yeah,
genetic material and what that does for your hormones and
yeah,
like I think that's something that so many women don't know about, that like you birth a placenta after you birth a baby. And
yeah,
like that's something
hmm
that like some women don't know. And that to me is insane,
yeah,
that like one of the main things with birth, like we're not taught, we're not aware of, like we don't. So
yeah,
how are you supposed to know something like delayed cord clamping or lotus birth when like
yeah,
you might not have even known that you give birth to a placenta? Like, oh, why am I
yeah.
still having contractions or cramping like after I've given birth? Or like women who are like, oh, I want to go to sleep, or oh, I'm so tired, or like
hmm
this and that. And it's like, no,
And
you,
it's like not over yet.
yep. Oh, so many things.
It's crazy and it's so cool too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just
So
excited. I'm
beautiful.
just excited to just be on this
Yeah,
ride.
this is the
But yeah,
most magical rite of
it
passage,
is.
man.
Yeah. So yeah, well I know you have to hop off to get to a client,
Yeah.
but where can people find you online
So
if they've been
my
loving our
Facebook
combo?
is Our and R, so OurAndAre. Same on Instagram, so at OurAndAre. And then my website is OurandR.com. So I would love to see you guys if you want to follow me. Also, if you mention it, I will include you in my private Facebook group if you would like to be included, where I post fun stuff like this, split stream live streams, educational information, all types of meditations and fun informationals. And then my Instagram is where I spend the most time. So lots of stories and posts and fun interaction. So I hope to meet some of your followers and some of your tribe too.
Yay. Yeah, and if you guys live in Chicago, follow Lindsay because she does regular moon club circles, which is just really fun intention setting, and we just like
Mm-hmm.
share our stories and connect. And it's, ooh, my phone's gonna fall. It's just a really great way to connect with other, yeah, just like high vibe women and
Yeah.
get
Other
your
ladies
zen
on this
and your chill
path
on.
just coming together and sharing
Yeah.
space and doing meditation and eating chocolate and drinking kombucha.
Yep.
Awesome. Well,
Awesome.
thank you
Yeah.
so
And if
much
you,
for having me. Oh, it was
yeah,
so
thanks
much
so much
fun.
for being
We'll have to
on.
do this again. I love chatting about all of our shared interests.
We will for sure. And I
Awesome.
can't wait to hear your updates on your conscious conception
Yeah. Oh, I'm so
journey and how that
excited.
goes for you.
Oh, best
Yep.
phase
All right.
ever.
Stay warm.
All right, love. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye. All right. Say bye to Lindsay. All right, you guys. So if you love this convo and you're really curious about everything we were talking about and you want to dive deeper into menstrual cycle awareness or feminine energy, or just like learning about your body, whether or not you're trying to get pregnant or not, super exciting news. I am currently relaunching my 12-week program, Wild Synchronicity. Actually, I'm not officially launching it yet, but I'm going to share this with you guys because I have some early bird bonuses. But it's a 12-week group journey, intimate group journey for women to learn more about just your energy, your feminine energy, your cycle, the four phases or seasons of your cycle, and how you can use and tap into your superpowers during and your strengths during each phase to be more productive in your business, in your life, really focus on self-care and really just lean into the power that is within us all and feel at home in your body and just understand what is going on instead of feeling like a crazy person. And I have a surprise. I have some bonus guest expert interviews that I'm going to add to this round, including an amazing in-depth interview with Lindsay on feminine energy and her story and how we can connect with our feminine energy and just let go of this whole hustle mindset and support ourselves through transitions and through the craziness of life. So if you're interested in learning more about the program, we're going to start in February and I'll be launching it officially next week. But I do have, like I said, some early bird specials and bonuses. Feel free to message me or comment below and I will hook you up with the information. But it was so fun hanging out with you guys tonight and stay cozy. I will chat with you later.